In moving to a low-carbon economy, the role of buildings is absolutely crucial. Working with buildings, finding a way of reducing those carbon emissions from buildings, both in their construction and their use, is absolutely critical if we're to meet the challenge of climate change, moving to a low-carbon economy over time.
And our role is to help business and the public sector make reductions in emissions to make a low-carbon economy a reality in the UK. And what that means over time is we need to reduce carbon emissions by 60%, probably at a minimum, by 2050.
One of the big issues with buildings is getting developers, getting builders, getting tenants and landlords to see that there is a business case in refurbishing buildings to a higher standard than is always required. Actually recognising that going the extra mile has a significantly positive payback.
For us, the Low Carbon Buildings Accelerator work has been all about real-world projects. So for us, it's about getting involved, rolling our sleeves up, seeing how these projects actually work, learning from industry and working with industry and all of the various players within the construction sector to understand what happens currently, to try and bring in some low-carbon expertise alongside that, to try and encourage managers, engineers and architects and all those involved in the process to perhaps think about the carbon-saving agenda alongside all of their other priorities for projects, to understand which things are cost-effective, which things might be nice to have but aren't achievable perhaps this time but might be something to consider in future.
We believe that actually low-carbon refurbishment makes business sense for a couple of very good reasons. Firstly, embodying energy efficiency in the refurbishment process will lead to cost savings over many years thereafter. Secondly, customers, in the case of buildings tenants, are increasingly demanding low-carbon buildings as they are becoming increasingly conscious themselves of what they can do.
One of the unique elements of the Low Carbon Buildings Accelerator is the fact that we're going through this four-stage process that involves the last stage of monitoring the building. So not only do we look at how this building has been designed and what its energy performance we believe will be, but also we look at, in reality, what have we actually achieved with the building through a year of operation.
In short, we're hoping to demonstrate there are a whole series of benefits from taking a low-carbon approach to buildings within the buildings we're working with, and then we're hoping to take that knowledge and disseminate it more broadly so low-carbon buildings become mainstream buildings in the UK going forward.
So really the message is simple. If you're refurbishing a building, think about the energy use, think about the carbon implications, bring in the right expertise and make that building the best it can be.
We know that commercial buildings represent a very significant chunk of the built environment in the UK, that these commercial buildings are refurbished on a very regular basis. If we can just get that refurbishment cycle to take a slightly longer term view in terms of investing in energy efficiency, investing in green technology, it'll have a massive impact over time on the efficiency that we see through our buildings and our overall carbon emissions in the UK.
The Whitbread project is a classic example of the type of building and the type of commercial owner and user of building whereby a standard practice or set of practices is used across an entire chain of buildings. If we can demonstrate low carbon best practice cost effectively for one site, then there's every chance that they can build those procedures into their standard working and demonstrate the same carbon savings across all of their buildings.
Whitbread is one of Britain's leading hospitality companies. Its portfolio has ranged through pubs, restaurants, coffee shops, hotels and health clubs. It's a big business employing around 45,000 people who serve over 8.5 million customers every month in 1,400 outlets. Like all successful businesses, Whitbread has its eye on the bottom line for its shareholders. If there are new ways of reducing costs or improving profitability, Whitbread is interested, especially with an energy bill in excess of £35 million.
One thing I've learnt within energy management is that, if you take it from a single public house or a single Whitbread estate or a single item, then you're looking at small amounts of money. When you ramp that up across the entire portfolio, huge amounts of money are at stake here, and also huge amounts of energy and huge amounts of carbon.
In 2006, the Hogs Mill Tavern in the South London suburb of Worcester Park became due for refurbishment as part of a rolling programme for Whitbread's Beefeater brand. As a case study, the Carbon Trust had some considerable input.
Well, the Carbon Trust has been great for us, and the Hogs Mill is a great example of some of the things that can be achieved in working with a partner outside the organisation. We have a relatively small team internally, so we are reliant on looking to the industry and looking to some of these other non-government organisations or people that can assist us in helping us challenge our norms and challenge our standard approaches to business. And really the Carbon Trust enables some of those challenges to come in from outside our organisation. They force us to think long and hard about how far you can push things.
I didn't want to create a green one-off. We could have spent an awful lot of money here creating a green show house, in effect. To me, what we tried to do here was to create a raft of common sense, low-cost, high-returning, energy-efficient measures that we could then adapt and repeat across other refurbishments within the Whitbread portfolio.
The Hogs Mill is part of the Beefeater brand. Its decor and ambience are to a standard design template, which Whitbread call B2.
What we did is, with the help of the Carbon Trust, is looked at how we designed the B2 refurbishment and what its component parts were. And then we really looked at, did we address that component part in terms of energy, in terms of how much energy was being consumed, whether the energy question had been asked, or really were we just creating a design at any cost. That led us to put together a list of opportunities that we've identified where we thought we could, maybe with a little bit extra cost, maybe with no extra cost, create the same ambience, create the same refurbishment, but at a reduced energy footprint.
The starting point must always be the building itself, the fabric of the building. Find the faults in the fabric. It's not a high-cost element to resolve those faults. In this particular one, there was a lack of insulation in some areas, and it was a very leaky building. So we set about asking them to insulate and asking them to look at their windows and the air leakage around doors, and they did that. And that was a very low-cost element with very quick payback.
One of the great learnings that I've taken away from the Hogs Mill is we did insulate the building. We draft-proofed it, we upgraded the insulation in the roof, and I believe some of the walls have actually been insulated as well, coupled with an improved ventilation system that operated automatically on temperature and air quality. And then when it wasn't operating, the louvers shut automatically, so the heat's not escaping.
In a building like this, if you don't have a lot of automatic controls to all the systems, then there's a big danger of the systems being run when they needn't be run. We're talking about controls on lighting, so that lights are not left on in areas where they don't need to be left on all the time, in toilets, stockrooms and that type of thing is all controlled, so that as somebody enters into these areas the lights come on. And then you're talking about low energy lighting. Now that was a real problem for the designers.
We realised we couldn't really change the design, so the actual fixtures themselves are the same. What we looked at was the bulbs that went in them, and could we purchase and fit the fittings with more energy efficient bulbs that created the right atmosphere. And I'm glad to say that we found several opportunities where we could use better products in the marketplace to light the fixtures and do it at a much more lower energy footprint. The radiators have all got thermostatic valves on, which maintain a temperature profile of 20 degrees. And then obviously coupled with that we have air conditioning, which is manually controlled by the staff on site. But we're not leaking heat, so the equipment, the infrastructure that the Hogs Mill have is able to maintain the temperature profiles that we require. Unfortunately, a lot of energy is wasted where staff don't understand the equipment and how it operates. So what we've tried to do here is obviously recreate and educate our staff on how to operate the equipment. Also what we've done is we've tried to automate the equipment where possible. Within our industry there is a high turnover of staff, so the people we educated when the refurbishment finished might not be here in a year's time, but the equipment will be. So to me, ongoing education and ongoing good housekeeping and ongoing training is important, but also, where possible, let's take the control away from the staff and automate it. They're busy enough meeting our guests' need without wondering how to operate an air conditioning system and what the buttons mean. If you think about what a refurbishment is, it's basically customer facing. So we refurbish the customer facing areas of the building, create a great looking pub restaurant operation for what our guests require. And to be fair, I think we neglect the rest of the building or the rest of the areas within the building because we don't maybe think that it adds value. Areas such as the kitchen, storerooms. We did some very good work on the cellar here where we separated some of the heat generating equipment that was contained within the cellar and managed to isolate it so that the heat generation was vented outside rather than into the cellar, which obviously put an additional load onto the cellar cooling. That was a very common sense, innovative way of reducing energy, but also potentially saves the equipment and reduces our maintenance costs. I have a saying which is taking energy out is easy, keeping it out is very hard, and to me that's the real test. It's can we keep this building locked down at its current energy usage patterns, or will the energy, the wastage and the inefficiency creep back over time, which will obviously degrade the return that we see. That is the hardest thing to achieve in my opinion.
You make sure that the design is such that balancing of the equipment and proper commissioning can actually take place. So that's where we start. So that during the refurbishment phase we stayed closer to this one so that the works as they were getting done, we were taking consideration as to the performance of the equipment and the systems. So that we were doing an ongoing commissioning process. And then once the building is in operation, we are looking at what's happening with the building all the time and balancing the systems.
We spent around about £16,000 on energy initiatives here. Some low cost, some common sense, and some which we weren't certain of, but we wanted to trial to see if we could offer a return. It's looking very favourable. You can get very good capital returns, and I would hope that the money we spent here will return within 3 years, if not quicker.
This is part of the approach that we're taking now to our standard business and our approach to business, not just around property but a whole host of operational issues as well. But these are simple elements, they're not difficult, and they have a significant benefit when you roll it out against a large estate. So I would encourage everybody to consider what it is that they can do to make a difference.
Now it's been refurbished, it's busier, but the good news is comparable to other refurbishments that have happened in the Beefeater estate and have had equal or successful sales increases, the energy increase we're experiencing at the Hogs Mill is nowhere near as much.
I mean, one of the key messages I'd like to give is that this is not difficult and it's not expensive work. A lot of what we've achieved now in our estate in terms of initiatives and a lot of the ideas we've introduced in some of these trial locations that we're evaluating a whole host of initiatives is straightforward, it's common sense and it's commercially beneficial. These are not ideas that are going to cost organisations millions of pounds to introduce. There are commercial benefits and there are responsibility benefits, and the two are dovetailed very much together.
Every building could and should be a low-carbon building. And really, the reason we're focusing on refurbishment of standard buildings is really to make that point and to show that you can achieve cost-effective carbon savings on normal buildings, and those practices that we show in this project can be replicated across a huge number of buildings in this country.